you should must know that the continent of the world, there are 7 continents in the earth globe: Asia, Europe, South Africa, North America, South America, Antarctica, and Australia. Australia is a continent.
Alright, we are going to talk about dialect labeling. So how did it came into being in Australia? This all starts from UK, that what actually happened. There used to live actually minorities such as Scots, Welsh, Irish. Those, they were not very educated, and they were, thieves, robbers, illiterate people. They had no, standard life. So the queen at that time thought, the background that UK was invading everywhere, so they shifted these all people to Australia, those who were of less value, those who were not literate. So as they went there, along with them officials and soldiers, and along with them their families went over there. So what actually happened? So there happened, this event took place, dialecting labeling. At that time they were not understanding each other's languages, because there were Aboriginal people were over there in Australia. So when these all people from Irish, Scots and Wales went over there, so they were unable to understand each other. So what they actually did, they used a medium from where they could understand each other easily. For example, I tell you what was their actual medium that they used to understand each other. I'll give you the example of Punjabi. For example, in Punjabi we say khloya. Khloya means there is one thing that khade ho jao, और दूसरी बात खलोया मतलब रुक जाओ 2 मिनट. In these all things kept happening, so this there adopt a dialectal language. So this was, I guess you got the point.
Okay, so there are different varieties of English in the world. Australian variety is one of those varieties. It differs in pronunciation, in accent, in vocabulary, in grammar as well. So within a variety of Aussie, there are 3 other sub-varieties. We can call it sub-varieties, and those sub-varieties are Aboriginal variety of English, migrant variety of English, and Australian variety of English. When Australia was invaded, so there were people who were who traveled from UK to Australia. This variety is known as migrants variety, and there were already people who were the original the inhabitants of Australia. They were already living there, original inhabitants of Australia. The varieties or the English they spoke, we call it Aboriginal English. Now the child that were newly born and acquiring the English as their first language, to that variety we call English, Australian English.
So when we are talking about Australian English, that how Australian English came into being, so we have to look back into the history. So they also colonized Australia, and the peoples, there were 3 major groups of UK. There were Irish, Scottish and Welsh. These were the convicts who conquered the Australia, and these people went to Australia, and they were the three peoples which were the Australian inhabitants, which are the Aboriginal, and the second one who migrated, that migrated people known as Irish, Scottish and Welsh, and the third people were they were Australian, the very first generation of Australia. So that's how the Australian English came into being. These were the 160,000 people, Irish, Scottish and Welsh, who went to Australia and captured Australia and conquered.
All right, so good day, mates. Today we're going to be talking about something really important. As my mates have explained it, I'm going to be talking about how Australian English is different and how it has just created so many variations. I'm just going to be quickly concluding the whole idea of like Australian English. So right now I'm speaking American, but Australian is a little bit difficult and different. That's why I haven't heard it. So they say good day, mate, and if you're just gonna go in America, they would say hello friend, how are you doing, how are you doing? Or in British they would say how are you doing? This is how Britishers speak. So let's just come back to the point. I just want to point this thing out in the conclusion that if you want to understand the whole thing, the whole idea of like how UK conquered Australia, you need to understand basically the map of the world, which is, I guess, really important to have a precise look at how world works, right? So they sailed through the ocean to Australia, and they colonized the Aboriginal dwellers of the Australia, the people who were living there at first place. So that's just kind of the first history of the whole idea, that how they went there, and hope everybody explained it well, and that's it. I guess you got the whole point.